Let's talk about Isaih Pacheco and CEH and the running back battle that'll ensue at training camp. Willie Gay Jr. agreeing to mental health counseling over the vacuum incident back in January. The Chiefs allegedly feeling betrayed by Orlando Brown Jr. based on contract negotiations and much freaking more. But first, how about those? What's up, guys? My name is Cole, aka the boldly bearded broadcaster of Chiefs news and sometimes known as the red, beastie bearded berserker of the Arrowhead Hive, and I do daily news about the Kansas City Chiefs. So make sure to sub for some crazy content this season. Hit that like button if you agree that Matt Moore is the shiznit like Alex Smith. And let's get into this video starting with some ESPYs news, because the game of the year, hands down, was Chiefs versus Bills in the divisional playoff game. They won. I mean, it was no debate, right? In 13 seconds or less, everyone should have been able to know that was the game of the year. And Travis Kelce was also there and on the mic in some capacity during the show. And a quick side note, I think Travis Kelce has a future on the mic after his NFL career, 100%. And then the Chiefs released a short get-to-know-you segment on rookie cornerback Trent McDuffie, and his favorite book is Unstoppable by Tim Grover. If he had to choose one meal to eat for the rest of his life, it would be breakfast. Well, let's go, because bacon is the best. And the song he'd sing at karaoke would be Alicia Keys' If I Ain't Got You. And let's keep the car parked here on another rookie, because running back Isaih Pacheco just released some footage of him training yesterday, and wow, this man really does look like he's out here fully prepared to take another grown man's job. He's a rather quick specimen who ran a 4.37 40 time at the NFL Combine, and as you can see in these clips right here, he's built like a miniature tank at 5'11" and 216 pounds. He reminds me a bit of somebody all of us here at Chiefs Kingdom really like, and that is Jamal Charles. I'm not saying Pacheco will end up having the same type of production as Jamal, but Jamal's 40 time was, I believe, a 4.36, and he's 5'11" and was around 200 pounds in the NFL as well. So Isaih has about the same top speed, similar height, and weight as Jamal Charles. He's someone I feel has a great chance of making the roster for his pass blocking ability and speed, yes, but also for his willingness to play special teams, and is even one of my current top prospects for returning punts and kicks. Time will certainly tell, though, as this man reports to training camp tomorrow, and then we will start getting a real idea of what things look like here in the next few weeks.
Being able to compete on special teams, more specifically, for me to come out there and block my behind off of Patrick will be a great standout for me. Giving 120% and competing, willing to take another grown man's job.
And while I'm going to move on from rookies, I'm going to stay parked at the running back position for a bit here, because just yesterday, Nate Taylor of The Athletic released an article on Chiefs running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the confidence he has for this season based on the offseason that he's had. Some people don't know this, but he's never really had a full, regular, and healthy offseason to prepare. The year he was drafted by the Chiefs in 2020, he just finished competing in the longest season of his life when LSU won the national championship, and then he was drafted during COVID. So the offseason was very unusual, with him trying to get a grasp of the Chiefs offense almost entirely from virtual meetings, and didn't have his first practice until training camp, which is freaking nuts. Then that season, he injured his hip and his shoulder and admitted to Nate Taylor that he returned to the field sooner than he probably should have, immediately following the 2020 season, which was a long one at that, resulting in a Super Bowl loss to the Buccaneers. Yeah. CEH had unexpected gallbladder surgery and lost a decent amount of weight and time to train because of it. His return to the field in 2021 was not him at his best. He was actually still dealing with weight fluctuation then. And then on top of that, he faced some unfortunate injuries that season as well, spraining the MCL in his left knee and injuring his left collarbone. So there's 2 seasons down, with 2 more to go, and even a third with KC if the Chiefs elect to use his 5th-year option, or of course, sign him to an extension. But hold your horses. Let's not go too far down that road until we can see a full, productive, healthy season from Clyde, which he does believe in confidence will be this season. CEH feels this is his first real offseason in the NFL, one in which he's had time to get back to the basics, train smart, and of course, has remained healthy, i.e. no unexpected gallbladder surgery was needed, because he doesn't have one anymore. So with the conventional spring and summer, Edwards-Helaire hopes his return to a normal training regime leads to a breakout performance, a 3rd-year leap in production that will be more in line with the skills and potential he possesses that led to him being the Chiefs' first-round pick in the first place. Edwards-Helaire says this: "There's always a sense of urgency for me. I feel I bring that intensity. I really was never injured in college. It's just one of those things. Unfortunate, yes. He's definitely feeling the urgency now because he has veteran backs Rojo and Jerick McKinnon nipping at his heels. And then, of course, rookies Isaiah, I'm willing to take another grown man's job, Pacheco, and Jerry and Ely. And then we can't forget about Derek Gore, who is also definitely in the fight as well. And this is going to be one of the top battles to watch come training camp and see how it all unfolds like a napkin at dinner time. That is for sure.
Let's ride. Let's ride. Broncos country, let's ride. Let's ride.
All right, guys, we have a bit of a Willie Gay Jr. update from the incident that happened back in January, in which he was arrested just prior to the Buffalo Bills game in January, in which he did indeed play in. But here's the update per an article from TMZ. And before I read this, I realize TMZ is crazy and mainly all for clicks, but their reporting on arrests, court cases, etc. is actually pretty freaking good, and they are often the first to break stories in this regard. So, with that being said, here's what they had to say per an article that released yesterday afternoon. Kansas City Chiefs linebacker Willie Gay has agreed to, among other conditions, to take mental health counseling in order to close out his criminal damage case. According to court documents, Gay cut the deal with prosecutors in late June, roughly 6 months after he was arrested for allegedly breaking a vacuum during an argument with the mother of his child. Per the documents, prosecutors agreed to let Gay enter into a diversion program in order to avoid a trial and any further jail time. And as part of the diversion program, Gay agreed to take mental health counseling, submit to drug and alcohol testing, pay fines, fees, and restitution, and generally keep his nose clean for 12 months. And in case you need clarification here, keeping his nose clean has nothing to do with any hard drugs, okay? Nothing crazy like that. It just means he needs to stay out of trouble. Anyway, if all the conditions are met, prosecutors are expected to dismiss the case against the 24-year-old. So, yeah, basically, Willie Gay breaks a vacuum and has to agree to mental health counseling, drug and alcohol testing, pay fines and restitution, and stay out of trouble for a year. All right, so note to myself and all of you watching, never ever break a vacuum when someone else is watching. All jokes aside, I think this is good for Willie, specifically the mental health counseling aspect, because he's been open about his mental health struggles in the past. For example, back on October 8th of 2021, he tweeted this out: "I love you all. Just know my mental health is messed up." And then on October 30th of 2021, he elaborated a little bit more on that tweet when he spoke to the media.
You got real life and you got football. You know, you got what people think happens, and you got what really goes on. Coming to the NFL where people think, man, everything's perfect because, you know, you got a little money or you play on Sundays, you know, I'm still human at the end of the day. And I still have feelings. I still get angry. I still get stressed. Just got to make sure you balance it out, man.
I'm still human at the end of the day, which is a great quote because, yes, these guys make a nice fat stack of cash, but with that comes the stress and pressure of managing all that while performing at a high level and staying healthy both physically and mentally. So we can't forget that Willie has basically admitted in the past that he needs a bit of help when it comes to the mental health aspect of life. And now he's going to get it. He has a young son, and being mentally healthy for him will be one of the best things Willie can ever make sure he spends time and money to invest in.
You got real life and you got football. You know, you got what people think happens, and you got what really goes on.
And then Jeffrey Chadia appeared on NFL Network recently to talk a bit about Orlando Brown Jr. and how not getting a deal done with KC left the Chiefs, quote, feeling frustrated and disappointed. He goes on to say the organization really loves Orlando Brown Jr., but the money he was asking for was just too high for them. They don't want to not have stability at left tackle here, but they also don't want to pay top of the market money for a player that they don't think is the best player at his position in the NFL. Jeffrey then said something rather interesting, which you guys need to hear.
One front office person said that this isn't the same guy that we traded for. And the feeling there is that when they got him from Baltimore, that he was going to be a team player, work with them on a team-friendly type deal. That was not the case.
He then finishes by saying, and now the Chiefs are looking at a situation where Orlando more than likely won't be there for training camp and maybe even won't be there for week 1 of the regular season. So when I heard Jeffrey say this about the Chiefs front office and all that, I immediately thought, so you're saying somebody from the front office really told Chidia that the team was frustrated, disappointed, and then said, "This is not the same guy we traded for," basically insinuating they felt betrayed, thinking they'd be getting a guy who, wanted to play left tackle, and because the Chiefs gave him that opportunity, plus the fact that it's the Chiefs, meaning they'd be winning a lot and he'd get to block for a franchise QB like Mahomes, that he would have taken a team-friendly deal and not demanded top-of-the-market money. Well, that doesn't seem like the Chiefs' typical hush-hush style PR to me, meaning it smells a little bit fishy. Could this be the feeling somewhat within the organization? Yeah, sure. To an extent, the Chiefs' offer, after all, was a pretty competitive deal, and I'm surprised Orlando didn't take it, but it seems sloppy of the Chiefs' pretty well-ran PR team for this to get out in the way that it did, showing the emotion that it did. And Charles Goldman of Chiefs Wire seems to agree with that assessment regarding Jeffrey's comments, as he tweeted out saying this: "Some of this report really doesn't add up to me. Like, everyone knew Orlando Brown Jr. wanted to play and be paid like a left tackle before the Chiefs even traded for him. The idea that he's a different guy because he wouldn't take a team-friendly deal? Come on." And to further back up the validity of this thought process from Charles Goldman's take here, Orlando Brown Jr. himself liked his freaking tweet, meaning Charles is more on than off here in his thoughts. The Chiefs aren't completely surprised, and I'm not sure they feel betrayed by Orlando Brown Jr. and think he's a different player than the one they traded for, in the sense he straight up pulled a bait and switch on him. Matt Verderam of Fansided and Arrowhead Addict had this to say about the situation. "Last week I was told the Chiefs love Orlando Brown," was the word used to describe him to me, "as a person and a player. Of course they're disappointed a deal didn't get done, but that hasn't changed their opinion of the individual and his potential long-term future in KC." He then said, "This should not be read as contradicting other reports. There are legions of sources around the league for every reporter. Therefore, differing opinions can be had in a single front office and/or organization. I'm just reporting my understanding of the dynamic between the Chiefs and Brown." So there we go. Did Jeffrey Chidia hear that from one of his sources? Possibly yes. I don't think he has reason to lie here, but at the same time, one source's viewpoint doesn't necessarily reflect the viewpoint of the entire organization. So what are your thoughts on the comments made by Jeffrey Chidia and the Chiefs Orlando Brown Jr. contract negotiations, and what that person said in the front office, that they basically feel betrayed, frustrated, and disappointed that Orlando Brown Jr., when offered such an aggressive or competitive contract, turned it down, making it seem like he's not the same person that they were made to believe he was when they traded for him. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below. Maybe you sit in that camp, or maybe you think, nah, I don't think the Chiefs are that upset by it. After all, it's a business. They're going to be able to tag him this year, which they already have, obviously, and next year if they need to, and trade him away if they really have to do so. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below, and let's fight about it down there per usual. Make sure to leave a bearded comment or a super thanks to potentially be featured in an upcoming vid. Like this vid if you haven't already, and check out this video here, which is a interview from Mitchell Schwartz on Good Morning Football, I think from yesterday or the day before. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?